highlighting that and saying no more.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hopefully the time she's
Oh
reached
yeah,
out to
yeah, nice to see you. Yeah.
I just wanted to weigh in on another aspect of the Chinese situation on academics. So I'm sure you're familiar with the Chinese Student and Scholars Association.
Yes.
And they have been very active on campus working with the Chinese consulate to suppress speech and views that's counter to the system's views. Specifically, recently we have seen the State Department trying to revoke Chinese students' visas. So I'm wondering if you want to share your views on the role of the
I've heard a lot of good stories.
on campus and how that contributes to what kind of atmosphere bring to U.S. free speech.
Well, I think it's important to know the CCP is leveraging students to do their bidding, and they're using the 2017 national security law to leverage these students. They're threatening family members, they're threatening the students, and any student who comes here is potentially vulnerable for that kind of leveraging. So it's important that Chinese students who are here know that they can come to the FBI and report that kind of intimidation on campus or otherwise. And it's important that we continue to highlight that being here as Americans, that's, many of these students just want to learn and contribute and do their jobs, but they are leveraged by the Chinese Communist Party. And so we need to vet and make sure that any students who come here aren't affiliated with the Chinese military, that aren't influenced by the Chinese Communist Party, and then give them the benefit that they can come and report those instances where they are being harassed or intimidated.
So do you support the possible Chinese visa revocation?
I think we need to target it to a way that looks at higher education, research, especially areas where there's intellectual property or technology that the CCP is trying to steal or in some way expropriate. But it's important that we, for those students who are here, we provide an environment where they can report any intimidation or threats from the CCP. Yeah.
Thank you guys. I think we got to run to another meeting, but feel free to follow up with me if you have any other questions.
Okay, take care.
Yep.
The Russian and the Soviet Union being not believable.
Yeah. How's it going, folks?
Hate them. It's a militant atheism.
That's good there.
That's what Chinese Communist Party is doing for all these years here. There's no doubt that look what they're doing with fentanyl. Now they're trying to do Trump's thankfully. The aggravation is just another one, but it's ongoing everywhere you look. When I had my big hearing, I had 106 hearings on human rights
So
abuses in
I got
China.
this bad boy here, and then I got the tape for this.
When I had the one on
Which, like, the cable, we'll just have to, like, finesse past. That's okay, though.
Is it possible to open? I don't know if this is you or if I
go
should
on the Google put Tiananmen Square in.
That's,
or maybe I could talk to them stand over here. The members.
that's Capitol Police who closed that, but I'm sure they can open it. You just might have to ask, like, one of the officers.
Yeah.
IBM in the Holocaust. I saw it at my
I just don't.
But-
I want to
with the book area.
open a little area for.
I don't know if they do, but you can at least ask them.
Multinationally as well.
I'm not entirely sure. That's like a them thing, though.
Censorship.
But,
And they still haven't gotten that message.
yeah, outside of that, okay, so I got this bad boy. I'll go now.
Tiananmen Square should have been the ultimate wake-up call to Alarm Bell about the brutality of the Chinese Communist Party. And to take action. We have levers. Some wouldn't use them, others wouldn't use them. I think he's using them. And he will, I think, on the tariff side, we're trying to get a good, strong statement from him on the forced harvesting bill, which is pending in the Senate. The bill is 406. Really, that's a total, everyone's linking arms and saying, stop this.
It is Assistant Leader Neguse
Poor Uyghur,
on the
because here's part of the diversity.
political agenda, the legislative agenda to clean up corruption in D.C.
Yes.
Yeah. Muslims.
Yeah, okay.
Chinese Communist Party is figuring
Yes,
out, let's just support
exactly.
the Uyghurs.
Thanks.
Force our
Are you with an office
and take theirs
meeting?
and sell
We're
them into the Middle East.
recording. Oh, okay, very cool. I'm
I'm
Grace.
all
I'm Lily. Nice to meet you.
Sharing
Hello.
Oregon
Helping with
car
this,
accident
the setup for
in your rise, whatever it may be, all voluntary. It's totally involuntary.
I don't like it. I like the cold actually. I'm more of a fan of the cold.
We're good to go for.
I mean, we should be shouting that from the rooftops. Well, they were doing
Yeah, it's
that
not
then. I
good.
had to hear
I don't like it.
This one would go on the
on
podium.
this
This one.
on this,
Up to you.
but it was very small. They would kill somebody, political prisoner, and a few of them would have their organs taken out. It's now industrial size.
Oh, which do I think is
Tens
best?
of thousands
Personally,
per year.
that one
They're getting their
on
organs
there
taken
and that
out.
one
We've had
there.
several hearings
I
on it.
think.
So they're experts. Even had one doctor who did it.
Yeah, I agree. Heck yeah. And in terms of tape,
Oh, and then they've gotten worse. I think they've gotten much worse.
definitely make this
We
work.
were
We
pointing out
definitely make this work. But
1990s.
also, it looks like that's like wide enough to where if you put something down there, it could also keep it up.
Dual-use items.
I got some gaff tape if you really want to make sure it stays.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Hold on.
I see we're having some tape disputes right now, but here I can hold that up though for you. Here he's got the. Actually, it's not too bad, but.
Oh, here, you can have this. We'll make money because we're saying it's going to be done.
On the edge.
Even satellites. You know, Bill Clinton, he did satellites.
Center it. Okay.
Got nowhere.
Okay.
And used their credit. We weren't naive. Money was talking.
Cool.
Money was talking.
So would that just go on the?
And then with the tape, yeah, we could do like the back side of it type thing and do like some.
Somehow they matriculate from a dictatorship to a democracy. Nothing for the dictatorship.
What do you think, like on the side essentially, or like even if it like circles?
To surround people.
Is that
Do
okay
like
with you
a-
guys?
do
Here,
like
how about
a-
feel free to do it just so you have like what you're looking for.
Put a few.
We had Microsoft, Cisco, Yahoo, and Google.
I know.
Threw 'em all in,
This is not
and,
like the
we talked to
studios.
them, asked them hard questions, and we're just following the order.
Sounds
You
good.
want something, you're personally identifiable
Okay,
information?
so
Sure, here it is.
here is one
This is
for
the secret
you.
police.
So like
And
right
they're
here.
looking for dissidents and
Okay,
wonderful
sounds
people
good there.
who just memo
Swamp.
to Joe here,
I
saying
know.
this is what we can't
My
do
poker friend.
during Tiananmen Square. This is, we remember it here. They don't
Yeah.
remember it there.
And then we could do like.
Remember he was like across our
He got
hallway.
arrested.
I do. Yeah.
Always ran into him.
Hawks.
He was.
And they gave him personally identifiable information to government.
Yeah, he
He
was
got
an
10 years
interesting
in
guy. He
And what was used to convict them
really
is
liked
what
to use
Yahoo
my
did.
trash can for tobacco dips and zins. Oh
Human
yeah.
rights are God-given rights. We need to
But
speak
he's
out.
no longer. He's gone to that great place in the sky known as Pensacola,
There
Florida.
or anywhere.
Yeah. Got you. Let's try this for now, and then we could do like a little backside. Like
I mean, this should be.
Blessings.
should be good for the most part. Yeah.
Whatever it is, we have got
Excuse me. Sorry.
One second, I'll be out of your hair.
Cool.
This thing's putting a pain in my butt today. I hate this thing.
Oh really?
No, the chair. The chair. I'll be talking about the Chinese Communist Executive Official of China. We have many hearings.
Nope.
One
And
of
we
them
can tape it to the. You can tape it to that as well if you want. We could do like a
that
reinforcement.
is that
Yeah.
we
Here, I got you on that
have
one.
loved ones that were arrested in Xi Jinping's China under no charges. And there's hundreds of them. One estimate was over 200. And we had them appeal it, saying, please, speak out for our loved ones. You know, if you're doing a deal, it doesn't go the way you
Scott, from that same. Why don't we move off here because they're going to start
Yeah.
press conference.
Glad good. Looks good here. How does that look?
I think that's pretty stable. I think it looks good, yeah. Let's go all there.
Maybe I'll add like a few more here, but largely I think that's good.
There's another wire in his way. Sorry. Probably not.
There we go. All right, I think that should be good. I think that should be good.
That'll stay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we should be good now. Appreciate it, though.
Word. Is this your water or is this someone else's? Let me ask Race. I mean, I'm gonna steal it.
Appreciate the offer.
Is this a good angle?
Which one? I think so. I also like it. I like the style. I like the style. I think it goes on.
Thank you, appreciate it. I was kind of like...
I like the red. Like I like it. Well, I like the color it ended up with.
It wasn't, it was supposed to be like a dark rust orange. I guess different
Yeah.
print formats and...
I'll be honest, I dig it. Because it's like, red, like, you know, it's not.
It's like money.
Yeah. I dig it. I like the thing. It's a good thing.
Magazine or Lozio. Okay.
Let me know whenever you're ready. Sounds good. All right. 5109-2727-9792-8979. Expiration 1026 402. Mic check 1 2 3. David, how's that sound on your end? Good for you?
Did you just give me your social security?
No, credit card. Good.
got Angie, Seth, Chris. So who are we missing? We're missing Hillary and Amelia. But I think they're on their way.
Free.
Yeah.
Sunglasses would have been hot out here.
Yeah, I made the mistake of not putting sunglasses. That's a rookie mistake.
You're not a rookie anymore, though, man.
Ouch.
All right.
Ooh.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's rough. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. We're grateful that you're here today. We're joined by Representative Craig, Representative Ryan, Representative DeLuzio, Representative Magaziner, and also Representative Scholten and Representative Sykes, who are on their way. Each of these members are incredible public servants and fundamentally reformers. And we're gathered here today to talk about the work that must be done to reform a broken system, to sound the alarm that corruption has become ubiquitous here in Washington, D.C., at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and here in the People's House, the United States Congress. We're here to say enough is enough, and to introduce a series of legislative proposals that we believe would end the corruption that has become so commonplace in our nation's capital. Legislation that would ensure that members of Congress, executive branch officials, and yes, the President of the United States are all serving the people's interests and not their own. These bills range from legislation I've introduced to impose a lifetime ban on members of Congress from lobbying, banning of stock trading by members of Congress, service on corporate boards, legislation to hold the president accountable, to reform our corruption laws and strengthen them so that the type of corruption that has become so commonplace in Donald Trump's Washington comes to an end. I couldn't be more grateful to these next generation reformers in Congress who've convened and joined in this effort. It'll be a long road ahead, but we have every intention of ensuring that we get these bills across the finish line. And with that, I want to introduce someone who, of course, needs no introduction. She has been a reformer since the day that she stepped into the United States Congress with me back in 2018, that storied class of 2018. Representative Angie Craig from the great state of Minnesota.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That storied class of 2018. Look at them. They're jealous. They're all jealous. Thank you so much, Representative Neguse, for getting this group together, and thank you all for being out here in the blazing sun this afternoon. We're all here because we understand that it's past time to clean up a broken Washington. It's an issue that I've run on, that I've served within, that I fought for since I came to Congress in 2018, because it's an issue I hear about in Minnesota every single time I go home. Everyday Minnesotans don't believe that their representatives in Congress, even some of the ones they voted for, are actually working only for them. And can you blame them with the latest news coming out of the House of Representatives? Is that middle class and working class Americans are losing their health care and their food assistance so that Republicans can pay for tax breaks for billionaires and large corporations. If that isn't corruption, I don't know what is. Impropriety, or even the appearance of impropriety, is holding us back from serving the American people and eroding trust in these very institutions. This is a threat to our work, and truthfully, it is a threat to our democracy. But as you'll hear today, there are some common sense reforms we can put in place to begin rebuilding that trust and holding members of Congress and the administration accountable. I've got a number of bills to prevent lawmakers from profiting off their positions, but today I'm reintroducing my Restoring Integrity in Democracy resolution, which would ban members of Congress from serving on for-profit boards while they are in office. It's a no-brainer, really, and I'm incredulous that we even have to introduce a resolution like this. We were all elected to serve our constituents, not any of our self-interest, and we should be holding members to that commitment. Whether it's banning members of Congress from trading stocks, using taxpayer dollars to pay for first-class flights, which, believe it or not, you can, or even accessing members-only perks after you leave office. There are countless ways to ensure that when lawmakers come to Washington, they're here for the right reasons. So it's up to us, yes, members of Congress, to restore integrity in democracy and put the American people before corporate interests. No more revolving doors, no more insider trading, and no more serving corporations instead of constituents. And so with that, I'll hand over the mic to my colleague from Rhode Island, Representative Seth Magaziner. Seth?
Thank you to Representative Craig, all of my colleagues, reformers who are here, and especially to Joe Neguse, our assistant leader, for bringing us together. You know, there are times when it feels like the real dividing line here in Washington is not between liberals and conservatives, it's between reformers and people who are tied to the status quo. And every one of us who are up here ran and were elected on a platform of reform, because our constituents expect better from their Congress and from their executive branch and their Supreme Court. Our constituents expect government for the people, not for their own personal interests. And so I want to thank all of my colleagues for having the courage, because it's not easy, by the way, coming up here to Washington and advocating for reforms to Washington. Doesn't always make you the most popular person in the room, but the people who are up here at this event have the courage to stand up for what is right, a government that is for the people and not just for the special interests. I am the lead sponsor of a bill called the Trust in Congress Act to ban members of Congress from trading stocks. It is insane that members of Congress are allowed to trade stocks to profit off of our positions. We have access to all kinds of inside information that the average member of the public does not have. What might be in a bill or not in a bill. What might get a federal grant or not get a federal grant. And it is fundamentally unfair for members of Congress to see that inside information and then be able to go and call their stockbroker and trade off of that information. Also, by the way, when we decide how to vote on bills, we should be doing it based on what we think is best for the American people, not what is best for our investment accounts. The Trust in Congress Act was originally introduced by a beloved colleague of ours, Abigail Spanberger. It is a bipartisan bill. We are up to 75 co-sponsors now, including, I believe, everybody who's up here. Let's get it done. I want to give great credit to our Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who last month became the first leader of either party in either chamber to come out for a member stock trading ban. Following his leadership, President Trump and Speaker Johnson also subsequently said that they would support it as well. So let's get it done. The onus right now is on Speaker Johnson. He controls the floor. If he does not bring this bipartisan common sense reform that, by the way, 90% of the American people support to the floor, then he owns that decision. But every one of us up here understand, and the American people understand, that members of Congress should not be trading stocks, should not be getting rich off of our position. This is about public service, not self-service. I want to thank once again all of my colleagues, particularly Joe, who has been a vocal advocate for this reform. Let's get it done. With that, I want to introduce someone else who is not afraid to speak truth to power, not afraid to shake things up here in Washington. My friend from Pennsylvania, Chris DeLuzio.
Thank my good friend from Rhode Island, Mr. Magaziner, and of course, Assistant Leader Neguse, for convening us. It's a great group of colleagues who are reformers, who know that we've got to fight corruption no matter where we see it. No matter the party, no matter whether it's in the building behind us or on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This End Corruption Now agenda, I think, shows exactly the way we want to take that fight to Congress and deliver for the American people. Where I'm from, like so many of the places these colleagues of mine are from, people believe in hard work. They believe in fair rules of the road. They think you ought to have a shot at the American dream, and we know that corruption distorts that. It distorts what happens in Washington, and people smell the rot that exists here. They know it in their bones. They know it's not right. They want us to do something about it. I think it's swampy nonsense, and we got to kill it everywhere we can. My bill that I'm leaning on, the No Corporate Crooks Act, is simple. It's 2 pages long, not like their big, nasty tax scam bill. That's thousands. 2 pages. It says pretty clearly, if you're a corporate executive who's been convicted of financial crimes, embezzlement, fraud, insider trading, you should be nowhere near the highest positions of public trust in the executive branch. That's a straightforward thing the American people support. Let's get it done. I don't think folks who have defrauded investors, who have ripped off their workers, who have cheated in the stock market should be put in positions of power in the executive branch of our government. Fighting this corruption in the ways you're going to hear about from these good colleagues of mine, I think go to the heart of restoring confidence in our government. Remember, we are a government of, by, and for the people. This is democracy. Trust is central to it. So I think this End Corruption Now agenda is so important. Leader Neguse, really commend you for it, and commend this great group of colleagues who I know understands what needs to get done. My colleague from New York, Pat Ryan's one of those guys. I don't hold against him too much. He's a West Pointer. But beyond that, he's a real fighter on anti-corruption. Over to you, Pat Ryan.
Chris struck me out at baseball practice last night, so he's feeling very overconfident right now. But we'll settle that in a separate venue. He got me looking on a great curveball. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to my colleague Congressman Neguse for bringing us together, and to truly really some of my absolute favorite colleagues. Not a surprise that we're all together working on what is a comprehensive anti-corruption agenda, and I'm really proud that this kind of, as Seth said, reformers coming here and we're actually following that through. I want to bring just another element to this discussion. I know, especially for myself and Congressman DeLuzio, I think a lot about having my public service in uniform in the Army, and I think every day, actually, as I wear this memorial bracelet of the soldiers that I served with and served alongside, who made the ultimate sacrifice, and we all honored that just a week ago across the country in our districts for Memorial Day. The ultimate epitome of selfless service. And every day I think all of us try to honor that service in every way we can. And then so to come here and now be in my 3rd year in Congress and see far too many colleagues in the building behind me of both parties, and certainly pretty much everybody now at the White House down the road, doing the exact opposite, putting themselves first ahead of country and ahead of constituents. It's absolutely unacceptable. It's un-American. It's why 90% of folks support the legislation Seth talked about, although I said to him, who are the 10% that aren't in that 90%? But that, again, for another day. So my piece of this agenda that I'm particularly excited about is legislation called Stop Millionaires from Using Service for Kickbacks Act. The acronym is MUSK, not coincidentally, the Stop Musk Act, although seems like that is already well in the works in the last week or two, so that's good news. But Elon Musk just represents the very visible tip of an iceberg of endemic corruption in the Trump White House. And again, there's too many folks in a similar situation, folks of great power and wealth that are using that to get even more for themselves at the expense of our constituents. So as my colleague said, and you'll hear from my colleagues to follow, I ask every one of my constituents and the American people to press your representative to support this legislation. If you're serious about ending corruption, you should be a co-sponsor of every one of these bills that are bipartisan and non-controversial. And so again, I thank my colleagues for being here. Thank you again, Congressman Neguse. And now my honor to introduce Representative Hillary Skolton from the great state of Michigan.
Thank you so much, Pat, for that great introduction, your great work. Leader Neguse, thank you so much for convening this incredible group. I did not seek out to be a member of the House of Representatives, but the moment found me in 2016 when I was a young attorney at the Department of Justice, gladly serving a Republican or Democratic administration. But when Trump came in, we saw something entirely new. Midnight firings of inspector generals for political reasons, eroding the trust in the very foundations of the independence of these certain agencies. This moved me and shook me to the place that I stand now today. And so it is an incredible honor to introduce my my bill, which does two things as a package of this legislation. Our package of bills will address the integrity that is at the helm of inspector generals. The Integrity in Government Act, the IG Act, will bring real accountability to the White House no matter who is in power. This bill does two simple but very powerful things. It protects inspectors general from political firings. You can only fire them for cause. And it places a permanent independent watchdog inside the executive office of the president. It prioritizes the American people as the ultimate authority in our democracy. Trump has made clear that he is willing to sideline oversight and punish those who try to hold him accountable. Loyalty to him is alone the ultimate test of merit, not what is in the best interest of the country. In his first few months, and without notifying Congress, he has fired not one, not two, not three, but 19 inspectors general. Many of those positions remain vacant to this day. By implementing an inspector general within the executive office of the president, we are making sure that even the most powerful office of the land is subject to real independent scrutiny, so that when grifters come, whether it is the president himself or his billionaire buddies, to make money off of a position of trust, we have real independent oversight. This is not controversial. It's constitutional. Oversight is not about left versus right. It's about public trust. And our democracy depends on transparency. The American people deserve nothing less. As my colleagues have said, let's get it done. It is my honor to turn the mic over to my incredible colleague from Ohio, Miss Amelia Sykes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here and hanging out in the sun. I am the final speaker, but I'm confident that it has been worth your while listening to this incredible package of bills from this incredible group of members. And I want to say thank you to Assistant Democratic Leader Joe Neguse for assembling us and ensuring that we're doing what we can to make sure the people can trust their government again. I'm Congresswoman Amelia Sykes. I proudly represent Ohio's 13th Congressional District, and I am committed alongside with these fine men and women to weeding out corruption at the highest levels and restoring public trust in our government. One of the biggest problems with corruption is that it evolves. Winks and nods can turn into billion-dollar energy bills. Firm handshakes can mask extortion. And because the people pulling the levers of power are the most susceptible to corrupt influence, it is incumbent upon us as lawmakers to hold the line. That's why we are unveiling this package of bills, a legislative agenda to shore up that our government guardrails so that we can make sure public service is just that, serving the public, not enriching individuals. For as long as anyone can remember, some of the most powerful people in our government have been playing by a different set of rules, making sure that they were getting ahead and leaving everyone else behind. Meanwhile, some of the hardest working people in our country are not able to make it day by day. Our constituents deserve better, and we are here to deliver it for them. Today I've introduced the Closing Bribery Loophole Act, which would fix a weakness in our federal bribery laws. You may recall in 2016, the United States Supreme Court overturned the corruption conviction of former Governor Bob McDonnell after he took more than $175,000 in lavish gifts, including Rolex watches, designer clothes, and private loans, as he promoted events at the governor's mansion. And the court ruled that those favors did not meet the very narrow definition of an official act under federal law. That decision blew a hole in anti-corruption safeguards and set precedent that made it easier for public officials to sell access, influence, and prestige without facing any consequences. The Closing Bribery Loophole Acts would update the federal bribery statute to close the loophole and expand the definition of an official act to include those like the ones taken by Governor McDonnell, and to ensure that everyone understands what is an official act and what you can and cannot do under the bounds of the law. But as an Ohioan, I'm especially concerned about corruption. In 2021, the FBI ranked Ohio the #1 state for public corruption, a distinction that no state wants. And after the arrest and the conviction of the former Speaker of the House and the former leader of the Republican Party, we had a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, that work has not started in the State House of Ohio, but we are here in Congress to make sure that everyone across this country, including in my great state, can actually trust and believe in their government. So let me be clear. When we allow public officials to use their power for personal gain and shield them from accountability, it undermines democracy itself. And this bill and the broader End Corruption Now agenda is about restoring public trust and ensuring that no one is above the law. Not a governor, not a president, not a Speaker of the House. We are here to draw the line in the sand. The American people deserve a government that works for them, just them, not for those with the biggest wallets or the largest connections. So thank you, and let's get back to work. And I'm going to turn the program over back to Congressman Joe Neguse.
Well, again, thank you to my colleagues. I couldn't have said it better than they did. Again, reformers, each one of them. None of these ideas should be controversial. Strengthening bribery laws, banning stock trading by members of Congress, lifetime lobbying bans, not allowing members of Congress to serve on for-profit corporate boards. None of these concepts would be controversial to the American people, notwithstanding they may be controversial to perhaps some of our colleagues. But we're going to continue to make the case, and we couldn't be more grateful for all of you being out here in the warm summer heat to hear us make the case. So with that, we're happy to take any questions. Yes. Sure, I'm happy to give an opportunity to one of my colleagues. I'll have Representative Craig jump in here. I would just say they are deeply connected. Of course, our core message remains one and the same, which is defeating the terrible reconciliation bill that House Republicans, Senate Republicans, and President Trump are attempting to force onto the American people that would devastate health care and so much of the programs that Americans rely on each and every day. But this is not a mutually exclusive battle, right? The corruption that we've seen that's endemic in Washington and that the Trump administration has unleashed here in our nation's capital is something that I think the American people want to see us tackle. And that's what ultimately is the impetus for so much of the legislation we've introduced today. But Representative Craig?
I would just respond that one of the things that the American people voted for when they voted for Donald Trump was a promise that we would not accept the status quo. Now that's what he promised, and what they're actually doing is burning the government to the ground. What we're presenting to you today, among other reforms that many of us support, is actually exactly the point. The American people want folks here in Washington to stand up because they are not satisfied with how Washington is working, because it is not working for them. So if we really want to take on the status quo, yes, we have to stop the conflicts of interest, and then we have to pivot immediately to the point of taking on big corporations that are actually jacking up the costs for the American people. These two things are so related, because if you're not here just to serve your constituents, then you're not willing to take on the companies that are hurting the people that you represent. And that's what's consistent across this group of members.
Representative Sykes wanted to answer that as well, and then we'll jump to.
Thank you. The thing I would say about that is corruption costs people money too. The example I shared with you in Ohio was a $60 million bribery scam that added money, a rider to electricity bills where Ohioans paid hundreds of dollars extra every year to pay for the corruption that happened in our state. So members of our community are paying for this corruption one way or another, and Ohio is certainly an example of it. But we also can't forget about the fact that the reconciliation bill shifts the burden from hardworking Americans to the most wealthy and well-connected to get tax breaks so they can buy second and third yachts and go on month-long vacations. This is all happening at the expense of people who truly cannot afford it, and I would say did not vote for this by any sort of mandate because they want a fair shake at life, but they don't get access to crypto coin meetings where they can have an audience with the president. They don't get that opportunity if they are the highest bidder. And so we just want to make sure that everyone can feel safe and some trust and that there's some integrity in the decisions that we're making with this package of bills. And then, by the way, let's not forget about the fact that the reconciliation includes a provision that doesn't even allow the courts to enforce contempt orders when in fact we're trying to create those checks and balances. So it is all connected. The way that government works, whether we are working with integrity and honesty, is a through line in the reconciliation package, which is one of the reasons why so many of us were against it, because it shifts the burden to those wealthy, well-connected people at the expense of everyday taxpayers.
Yes. Seth Magaziner is really leading the negotiations on that front. So,
yeah. So what I'll say is there is bipartisan support for this, right? My Trust in Congress Act. We've got 75 co-sponsors, Republican and Democrat. There's a few other versions of the bill that are introduced that are also bipartisan. We are working together to reconcile the differences between those bills. They're not significant, but I think we'll have a hopefully final product between us soon. I have been speaking with and liaising with Leader Jeffries all through the process. He is supportive of the process that we are going through. He is supportive of the issue. It is the responsibility of the Republicans that we have been working with to speak with their leadership. And so, talk to Chip Roy, Brian Fitzpatrick, Tim Burchett. They're the ones on the Republican side who are in the mix on this, and it's their responsibility to, coordinate with their leadership. I'll just say again, I think Hakeem showed great courage by being the first leader to come out in favor of this last month. Speaker Johnson then followed a couple weeks later. And the onus is on him. I mean, my read of the situation is this. If any stock trading ban bill gets to the floor, it's going to pass by an overwhelming margin. Like, we all know that. Like, woe be unto that member of Congress who decides to vote against the stock trading ban on the floor, right? 90% of the American people support this. It is going to happen at some point. The only question is this going to happen under Speaker Johnson or Speaker Jeffries, right? Because we know it will happen under Speaker Jeffries. And so that's a decision that only Mike Johnson can make.
Yes. And then we'll go to Kim.
We've been hearing about whether it's banning stock trading or all these things proposals for years. What makes this time different from all the other times we've heard proposals that have never gone through?
I'll take that and I'll give Pat an opportunity, or Hillary, if either of them would like to answer it. But what I would say from my perspective, as you said, I've been in Congress now. This is my going to fourth term. We've been fighting for a ban on stock trading since the day I entered the Congress. And Angie remembers that well. Her legislation to ban members from serving on for-profit corporate boards, again, has been pending for several years. And every year, momentum builds. I think there are two differences. One, as I said previously, corruption really has become so endemic here in Washington by virtue of President Trump's actions that I think the American people are now clamoring to such a degree for these reforms that I believe we'll be able to get them across the finish line. When you have, to the question that was posed previously, this reckless reconciliation bill pending in the House that would harm working Americans, and simultaneously members of the Republican caucus trading stocks with respect to debates that are ongoing regarding that bill, those stories have become far more public, I think, and exposed to the American public than perhaps they have been in the past. And so that is one, right? The public approval for these measures has changed. And then secondly, I would just say, and it's a credit to the members who've joined me today, you have a lot of young, new, next generation members of Congress, reformers, who are joining the House and arriving here in Washington with a reform-minded agenda, like Hillary and Chris and Pat, Seth, and so many others. And I think that also is changing the nature of the debate here in Washington. I certainly have seen that just in my short time here over the course of the last 6 years. Hillary, you want to jump in?
Sure, yeah, you actually touched on the point that I was going to make, which is this has always been necessary. But as I look at my colleagues here today, we've all been here for under 5 terms in Congress, many of us only serving in our 2nd term here. We came with a vision, a mission, and a mandate to get things done for the American people. And, as we have seen in the first few months of Trump in office, there is grifting like never before at a time of, unprecedented public distrust in our work. We knew that we needed to take action, and that's what this caucus and the series of bills that accompany it is all about. So, thank you.
Caitlin? Pat? I would just say with respect to the timing question, I don't think that it can be overstated the degree to which Leader Jeffries, taking the bold stance that he has taken as the first party leader in support of a ban on stock trading, has had and will continue to have in terms of the prognosis for passage of that bill. But again, as Seth eloquently put it, the decision right now is up to Speaker Johnson. He puts that bill on the floor today, it passes by an overwhelming majority. So time will tell as to whether or not he does.
Yeah, just very quickly, I think part of why we, to Joe's credit, wanted to do this as a comprehensive package is the hope is let's use the momentum, particularly from stock trade bans, which I think has one of the most widely recognized and popular and understood issues to put this all together. So I think our hope would be that this and other legislation that a lot of us are on would go together. The other thing I just want to say on this, which speaks to the prior question as well, a lot of us here are in very tough districts, and I think all of us actually significantly overperformed the national sort of numbers and brand centering this issue, because this is not a partisan issue. It really is a nonpartisan American issue of competition and fairness and hard work. And so I do think the pressure of this 26 cycle in particular, hopefully maybe that will finally shame Johnson, who literally lives in the home of a lobbyist, I believe, to actually do the right thing here.
On that note, thank you all. Again, speaking truth to power, which, as you could expect from our reformers here in Congress. Thanks so much for coming today. Our work continues, and we will not stop until we get these bills signed into law and end the corruption that's become so pervasive here in Washington. So, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, that was terrific. That was really good.
Yeah, I know. Next time we're doing the studio.
Usually we do it in the studio. It was a beautiful day.
This was the first day where we all realized.
Of course.
Not the way to go.
I should have brought sunglasses.
Oh, cool. Pleasure to meet you.